This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yo, should you practice art? Or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master. The one that's more than a rapper. The one that's an educator. The one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts. He's got the mindset expansive. He understands that his time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan.
Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is Comics Today, a show that we do on Wednesday to celebrate the best day of the week, that being New Comic Book Day, and I am broadcasting live from a new workstation. I have a new workstation that has been set up. The microphone has been repositioned and has a pedestal of its own instead of the boom arm that I've been using for the last couple of years. So we are going to see how this goes. This setup may have to evolve and change, but huge shout out to my wife and also to the Patreon members for putting me in a position to be able to get a desk. This is a really nice desk that still moves when I touch it, the camera at least. So not everything is better, but I will tell you that the setup is different. It is better than it was before, but there is always continued room for improvement. So again, shout out to Kelly and shout out to the members of Patreon. But this show that we do on Wednesday is a celebration of New Comic Book Day, and as part of that, we talk about news and current events. We talk about what it is that you may have picked up at an LCS. Maybe you got some books today. Maybe you picked up a book that is not a new book, but it is a new to you book. Either way, if you've read some books, you purchased some books, you scored some books, you landed books, whatever terminology you want to use, throw it up in the comment section so that we can live vicariously and celebrate the books that you have picked up. And if it's a new book, or like a book that literally came out today, putting that in the comment section actually helps people to know what the good books are, what the books are that people should be picking up, reading, and checking out. As part of this show, we also, as I mentioned, talk about news and current events. We typically have a guest or two on to help me to make sense of something that is happening in the world of comics and collectibles. And we are going to do that again tonight. We're going to have a guest come on to help us to make sense of something that I don't know if a lot of people widely understand or fully appreciate this aspect of the hobby that involves foreign comics. But we are going to have a guest on that's going to help us to make sense of that. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to stay tuned for that. A lot of stuff that I want to try to get to today. We have a Patreon giveaway that I'll do here in a hot minute. I want to give you guys an update on Isolation, the lettering, the pencils, the inking, the lettering. The layout is all done. Doug and I just need to sign off on the file before it goes to the printer. That thankfully is going to hopefully happen this week. And then we will wait, a couple of weeks for the printer to do his thing and then the books to ship back to us. And then I'll be working to process all of those orders. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to remain patient. A lot of folks thought that they missed out on something. You haven't. It is going to be going down. So stay tuned. I'm staring at something really cool on my desk here that showed up earlier today. This is a sticker that I'm actually going to be putting in some of the mystery boxes that are going to be coming out for Isolation 4 to support that project. We have mystery boxes. The mystery box is full of stuff, cool stuff, and I picked up these stickers. They are a holographic type of sticker. This is issue number 2, the cover of Isolation issue 2. I turned it into a sticker because I thought it was super cool. So let's go to the chat real quick to see what it is that you guys may have picked up here. And if you picked up some good stuff, throw it up in there. Fat Dad, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. He says, been working on an ASM run, grabbed a bunch of filler issues between 351 and 440, also snagged an ASM 238. 7.5 from another member of the comic book community. Congrats, brother. Working on an ASM run is a daunting task. There's no doubt about it. It's a daunting task. The best thing you can do is to buy it in bulk, man. Buy in bulk as best as you can and just tackle it. Just jump in with both feet and just get super aggressive. That is the way to do it. What is that? Mark says, looks Tina shiny. Brother, I think when I ordered them, I sent a message to Tina. I was like, I just picked up something I think you're gonna like. I may have sent her the proof. I may have shown her the proof as well before they came in, but I figured that Tina would like those. So something different, something cool, man, that goes in the box. Again, those folks that support the Kickstarter by buying the mystery box, I mean, they pay a decent amount of money, but every single dollar that people pays in allows me to pay the creators. And I just finished paying Chase. Chase collected his money for completing the issue. The artwork is fantastic. I will tell you that. He sent me the invoice, and it was painful. It's painful to pay it, but we did the right thing. We took care of him. He is all squared away. There you go. Matt Woods is on a blue wrench. Thank you, brother. I definitely appreciate that. What is that? Milt, how you doing, brother? Best pickup of the day was a 1 in 25 Venomverse issue number 4. Milt says it's unusual artwork. Fantastic Four is getting better. I sat down and I kind of skimmed through, what was it, like issues 1 through 3 or 4 of the Fantastic Four run. And it's not good. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good. And so Milt saying it's getting better. So I may have to jump back in and see how things are going. Milt, is always good to see you, brother. Mark is on the board. The Witches of World War II, Grim 11. What do we have? Barnstormers, Junk Rabbit, number 4. A couple of cool books in there. That's what's up. Mark always picks up some good stuff and then gives me a heads up as to the stuff that I should read, because he knows, some of my preferences. So he gives me a heads up on some good stuff, though. Rob Boswell is in here. He picked up an eagle. He picked up an eagle on the 14th hole of a 543-yard par 4. That sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook. I'll be completely honest with you, but we'll celebrate with you nevertheless. No, I think that's actually, eagle is a good thing. So congrats to you, Rob Boswell. I don't play golf, but I respect those that do and have the ability to play it well. That's what's up. Scrolling through the comments here. Travis, how you doing, brother? He says, I finally got my first CGC graded book coming in tomorrow. Hellblazer number 1, a 9.4. Congrats to you, brother. That is awesome. Scrolling down through some of the comments here. Steve White purchased 22 books today, and I feel that I am single-handedly keeping my LCS. That's what, hey, as I always say, I am confident that your LCS loves you. There is no doubt about that one. I had a daydream earlier today. I was watching Instagram posts of this guy that went into a pizza shop. And I've seen a few of his posts on Instagram before. He goes into these situations and he convinces somebody to do something nice for him to see, I guess, how they're going to respond. And then he turns around and does something overwhelmingly positive for them, and so I was like, it would have been cool had I had the epiphany, or the ability as well during the pandemic to help support more LCSs. It would have been super cool to do something like that, where you go to an LCS and just buy all their wall books or something like that. Because a lot of LCSs were struggling during that time. Hindsight is 2020, but that was a cool little daydream that I had earlier today. I don't know. Who knows whether it'll ever happen, but I just thought that was a cool little thing that I was processing today. Tina's on the board. She says, so many LCS supporters with all of their pickups. There you go. Your LCSs are thankful for you. I will tell you, I had a conversation with a guy earlier today about price, and it was a very long conversation that I want to maybe talk about towards the end of this live stream if we have time for it. Scrolling down through some of the comments here from Heroes to Icons. How you doing, brother? He says, just in the mail today, a PlayStation magazine with art from Joe. I am not going to attempt to pronounce that last name. And Arthur Adams. That's what's up. Good stuff right there. Scrolling through the comments here. Tina's giving shout outs. Scrolling through, seeing what else you guys are maybe picking up. I may have skipped over all of them. I bought a CGC signature series 9.8 today. There you go. That's what's up. Congrats to you, Trev. Scrolling through some of the other comments here. Too many books today, says Frog Brawler. He runs through his long list of books that you guys may want to check out. Somebody also asked me today whether I believe that facsimile comics somehow negatively impact the values of the real comic. And I want to say I addressed that like 2 years ago. I don't believe it. I don't believe that it does. I haven't seen any data that supports it. Like, put it another way. I've never seen anyone say, I was going to buy this Hulk one, this original Hulk one for X amount of money. But instead of buying that, I'm going to buy the facsimile version. I've never seen anybody actually make that type of trade-off versus people being like, hey, I can't get a Hulk one, so I'm going to get the facsimile, or I want to read this in its original format. I just want to have something nice to display. I want to have a cool comic in my collection. I've seen that more often than the trade-off of the real thing for the facsimile. I've never really seen that, but maybe there are some people out there that will surprise me with that experience. So Rush, my Canadian brother, just picked up two NYX's number 3 9.8s. The problem is they don't look 9.8. Yeah, that is a legit problem. Mass Snow, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Mass Snow left a good comment on a video that I released earlier. He says, even though you took a couple of L's, you still remain positive. It is what it is, brother. Sometimes you take those L's, but you just keep it moving forward. Juggernaut, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. He says, if I could, I'd pass each of you a slice of birthday cake as I turn the big 5-0 on Sunday. Happy birthday, brother. Happy birthday to you. I hope that you enjoy that cake and your family showers you with all kinds of wonderful things. It was 4th of July. What was that? Yesterday? Had a fantastic time with my family. I hope you guys did as well. We spent time at my sister's house. She has a new house 30 minutes from me, which is also 30 minutes from my parents. It's like the perfect distance. My parents are also 30 minutes away from me in the other direction. It's wonderful having my family here at a distance at which I can drop my children off and get away from them. So that works out quite nicely for me. Let me see. I'm scrolling through some of the comments here. One Day the Real Deal, a couple of comments here about facsimiles. That's what's up. Show you guys, I picked up these books from Skybound. Skybound sent me these books. This is actually a Top Cow book, and I don't know why I received it. I don't know what the relationship is between Top Cow and Skybound/Image, but I am thankful for it. I had a chance to read this. Antarctic, had a chance to read it. I don't know where this story is going to go, but I read it, and it's interesting. It is interesting. And I think it was the writer, maybe the writer or the artist, I can't remember. One of them shared my post and was like, stay tuned. They were like, stay tuned. So there you go. Antarctic, decent book I picked up. And then Fish Flies. Fish Flies is the other. If you are a Canadian, I think that you have to pick this book up, especially if you are from Ontario. I think it is a requirement. There is a whole thing, I guess, this thing where fish flies descend upon certain communities in Ontario. It sounds quite disgusting. I'll be completely honest with you, but it is a decent read. It is actually a thick book. I don't know how many pages this thing is, but it is $6. It is mature audience. And yeah, it is a decent sized book. It is a decent sized book. I don't know how many pages, but that's graphic novel territory right there. But two really awesome books that I read recently that you guys may want to check out. Shoe Flies, Time Flies, says Chuck. It's not a bad read, not a bad read at all in any way, shape, or form. All right, let's do a giveaway real quick. Let's do this Patreon giveaway, and then we are going to get to our first guest. So let's roll some dice. I am out of practice on rolling these dice, but we are going to roll some dice and see what we get here. We've rolled 7. So we are going to randomize this list a total of 7 times. And these are all the people that support the channel via Patreon. These are all the names right there. Some strange abbreviations. Just bear with me. We're going to randomize this thing a total of 7 times, and then we are going to give away a couple of really cool things. I think that was 3 right there. Yeah, here is 4. That is 5. Here is 6. And the winner of the giveaway is Vikram. You, sir, are the winner. Congrats to you. Who was that? John was in 2nd. Ernell was in 3rd. Eric was in 4th. And Larry was in 5th. There you go. That is the quick list of folks that are in the top 5. And the winner is going to be getting this right here. Keys and Grails Really cool book right there. Rat136 does these really awesome corner art things, and he turns them into pins. And I actually purchased a set of the pins from him that he made for me. But this is a comic that he put out of all of his corner art. So I had to support him by picking up a couple of copies of that. But the big prize for Vikram is this right here. This is Invincible Compendium 2. It is a robust book. It is a robust book that is probably going to fill up a medium flat rate shipper, but I'm going to bundle this thing up and get that sent out. And again, just randomly giving stuff away to people that choose to support the channel. I am very thankful for those individuals that that continue to do so. There are some folks that have been part of Patreon for years, and I am very thankful for each one of those individuals for their contributions to the channel. All right. So one of the big things that we try to do here at the channel. One of the things that we try to do here on the channel is to try to make people smarter about the hobby of comic book collecting. Right. And as part of that, we try to put out all different types of information. Right. We put out information on how to buy, how to sell, when to sell, how to think about the market, how to collect, how you might want to set a goal to make sure that if you're spending money, you are spending that money as wisely as you possibly can. We also just talk about general things related to the hobby in an attempt to expose people to more things that maybe they otherwise would have been exposed to. And maybe through that exposure, right, if we're talking about NFTs or some of that other stuff, bat cows, maybe you'll realize that that's not for you. Maybe you'll realize that it's something that you're interested in. Maybe you'll go do a little bit of additional research. But part of it is simply about exposing people to different aspects of the hobby to make us a little more well-rounded. I think that goes a long way, and it allows us to expose ourselves to some things, and again, figure out what we're interested in and maybe not, right? And so I wanted to have a guest on tonight that could help me to understand foreign comics, right? I personally saw an uptick in interest around foreign comics during the pandemic. And so I wanted to have somebody on that could help us to make sense of this aspect of comic book collecting. And so we're going to have on a guy by the name of Rob. And Rob is an international comic book collector and dealer who actually began partnering, I do believe, with CGC back in 2020 to aid in driving transparency and understanding of foreign comics. And I first became aware of Rob, I want to say back in 2022. That was my first time actually having a brief exchange with him. And as I mentioned, I wanted to have him on the show to talk a little bit about this maybe misunderstood, maybe a little known aspect of the hobby. I think that there are some people that know a whole lot about it, and I think there are some people that don't know much at all about it. And so that's why we wanted to dig into that. And so I want to welcome to the show Rob Wrong. Rob, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. You're on mute. Let me see if I can unmute you there.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Rob, how are you, brother?
Okay, I cannot hear you, so that is...
All right. So while Rob tries to work through that again, there's been a couple of press releases and articles come out about Rob and what he does with CGC. And again, that's part of the reason why we wanted to have him on the channel to help us to walk through some of this stuff. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. But I think that the headphones also go both ways. But if you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And as long as you can hear me, we are good. Rob, how are you doing?
Perfect. I'm fine, man.
Good. It's
First
good
of all,
to see
you for having you. Thank you for having me on the show. And I used to listen to you all the time. If I'm grading or pricing or doing something else, have it in the back. Dedicate one screen for Reggie. That's that's really. I appreciate that, brother. And your positivity and the community. Basically, it's awesome.
I try. I do the best that I can. So, Rob, I mentioned that you partnered up with CGC, I want to say back in 2020. How did you come to establish that relationship with CGC? And what exactly is the relationship? Can you flesh that out for us?
Sure. I think what it happened with was that back in the day, years ago, when CGC was creating international comics, they didn't have a clue, They was putting, for example, in Scandinavia, it was very common to print comics in Finland because they have a lot of forest, a lot of paper, cheap printing. So the guys at CDC back in the day, not the current people, but back in the day, they kind of like, oh, Finnish edition. And then it was Norwegian, Danish, Swedish also. So it was a complete mess. And they messed up the year, they messed up the publisher, everything was just a complete mess. Yeah. So I kind of approached them, I think, first around 2018, 2019. And at the time, I've already built up a big database with thousands and thousands of pictures, a publisher, year, country, notes, secret notes, what, like the nerd. I'm a statistical nerd and a collector. You can imagine the spreadsheet is looking.
Right. It wasn't in Excel, was it? Was it actually in Excel?
It was actually in Excel.
Okay.
I prefer to work in Excel with it. It sounds weird, but I'm faster with some of the things. But if I do the big data thing, I can't use Excel. But I think for the comic collecting, Excel is a great tool, and I think people agree. So I reached out, and I didn't know Matt Nelson at the time personally, but we had many common friends, like the big auction houses, many of the big US collectors, and so I got introduced. I think it was by Richard Evans out of Bedrock that introduced us, and I spoke to Matt, and I was surprised because they was really interested. They didn't know anything. They was open about that at the time, and it was obvious from the labels. And so we kind of we try to work something out there where they get exclusive access to the database and all the notes, and me bringing new books constantly and helping them basically on the strategy how to do things and the labels. It's also important to just, for the record, that I'm not an employee of CGC. It's more like a consulting thing that I'm not on a salary, and I can collect, I can sell, I don't have those restrictions. But it was a great time. I mean, they have a research team that is amazing, very young, dynamic, smart, good to Google. I mean, sometimes they impress me. It was really cool.
And what's funny is that the story that you just shared there is very similar to another story we heard from someone else, someone that personally gained an interest in emblems from different publishers, and they built up a database in a repository, and they started hunting these comics, and they approached CGC, and we had him on a couple of months ago, and it's a very similar story. What was it about foreign comics that prompted you to create this database, this repository of information, besides the fact that you were just a nerd, which you said, you admitted it, right? So besides that, what prompted you to do it?
I'm going to be dead honest with you, Reggie. I think they collect, instead of having 1 or 2 copies, I turned into 3 and 4 copies. And, I wanted to grade my personal collection, and I only use CGC. I don't use the smaller one. So yeah, that was really the thing. I wanted to slab my personal collection because, and also with taking, I started in some countries. I started way back even in the 90s, but then I expanded. I found new copies, and then it just kind of spiraled, not out of control, but it became a lot of books.
No, that's cool. And again, I had no clue what you were going to say to that, but it's interesting that your desire to grade your own comics, foreign comics, and to have them be accurate, right, from a labeling standpoint, is what drove you to build the database to approach CGC. And yeah, you're benefiting from it personally, but you're also helping others to benefit from that as well. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I've always been obsessed about the education of the market. And you said I'm a dealer. I am, but also, I don't have any high pressure sales tactics or bullshit. I'm trying to make it organic. I mean, sometimes I spend 1 hour chatting with someone who is considering to buy a $200 book, and he doesn't buy it, and it's cool for me. It's not if I wanted to make money, I think I should have stayed in the big data sector and and the comics. So it's a mix. It's just but I like to work with my hobby. I'm pushing 50, and I think it was time for me to take a big decision. I got a nice break there. Around 20, just actually when the Corona came, I got a good opportunity to kind of just exit
there you go.
that life and work with what I love.
There's a bunch of people in here that are pushing 50, so you're in very good company around here. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, what is the right way to describe these foreign comics, right? Are they, and I've seen a lot of terminology, right? Are they foreign comics? Are they foreign editions? Are they variants? Are they reprints? Are they all of the above? How should people be referring to foreign comics? What's acceptable? What's not acceptable?
I think that this is a typical common misunderstanding, that unless you're really in the circle, and I mean, I had this discussion since, I don't know, 2000, 2005. The CGC boards have their opinions, and it's a lot of, I make it very easy. It's only called an edition. So if a book is out in Germany or Sweden or the Philippines or in South Africa, it doesn't matter. If they release when they release a copy, remember that they have to, often they change the colors, they change the layout, they change the size, they change the number of pages, they change the ads. So there's a lot of work. So you cannot say it's complete. As a reprint sounds very degrading. If that makes sense. And this has been discussed. Obviously, I can only speak for myself, and I can not even speak on behalf of CGC, and certainly not other collectors or dealers or foreign. But I think it's a common accepted by everyone that it's an edition.
There we go.
You can always play with the words and say that, but the Dutch edition of Daredevil 1 are reprinting the story of Daredevil 1, which was, you've seen the book a million times. But edition is the word. The reprinting, I think it's. I'm not going to say internet trolling, but it's not. Okay, they reprint the story, but everyone knows. Everyone knows that Daredevil is and Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. Right. Everyone knows that this is American things that is taken to be printed elsewhere. So yeah, edition is the correct word.
Is a more acceptable way to refer to them, and that helps, right? Because it's always this question of how do you refer to them, right? And so if it is edition, I think that helps. In your opinion, right? You've been buying these comics for a long time. You talk to collectors all the time about them. What do you think the appeal is to foreign edition comics for your average collector? What is the appeal? What is it that draws people to these foreign editions?
I think there's a lot of factors. I mean, it's many, but let me try to cut it short and say that I think the different use of colors is important. Also, the different a lot of times they can be rewritten a little. They edit the cover, they remove something or add something. Other times it's almost completely redrawn, so you struggle to see. You can see it's Fantastic Four number 5, but it's completely redrawn. Also, you have the different, the different languages, the different, the Greek, based on the Cyrillic alphabet. You have the Scandinavian, German, Dutch. You have the Finland and Hungary that is basically based on. It's for me, it's like. I don't understand one word in the whole comic. So, and another thing is the size as well. Sometimes they make the digest size. Sometimes it's oversized. Also, sometimes they print other stories on top of the story on the cover, or they can, it can be a lot of things. I think in general, I think people prefer the American ones, but there are foreign books that are so cool. The covers are so amazing that they're just popping. And it's the Werewolf by Night, the Spanish edition there, that is just delicious. I'll send you a picture.
Did you say delicious?
Sorry?
Did you say delicious?
Delicious, yeah.
All right. So what I heard you say there, and I'm gonna use my own words to describe it, and you tell me if I'm hearing you correctly. What I heard is it is the vibrancy of the colors, right? The fact that they're maybe using a color palette that is not an American color palette or the original color palette. It is maybe the diversity of the cover art, the interior pages and the interior content, and the diversity of the size. Did I encapsulate that right? Did I miss anything in that?
I think you missed the letters and the language, and the logos are different. But yeah, it's a pretty good summary.
Okay.
I think it's and the other thing as well. I mean, sometimes I question myself how US collectors and US dealers how many times you want to watch Hulk 181, Spider 129, After 1. I mean, it's great books. I love them since I was a child. There's nothing wrong with it. It's original. They came before and blah blah. But I mean, if you see variants and you love the. I mean, look to Canada. The first Punisher in Canada has a pink background.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally, it's. I'm not going to say My Little Pony, but it's just there's nothing connecting Punisher to the. Yeah, see if you can find it there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in here, but what you're describing is basically the various versions of Amazing Spider-Man 129, the first appearance of Punisher that you can see out there.
Yeah, it's there, Reggie. It's just on the end for you there.
Oh, which end? The right end?
Yeah, the Canada. It says Canada. It's pink. Other way.
Oh, Canada. I went the wrong way. But my other left. That's what you meant. My other left.
Yeah.
There you go.
So click on the Canada and you get my point. You know, it's.
Will that click work? Oh, there you go. There you go. So, in your mind, is there an aspect of rarity that also plays into this, right? The fact that these are maybe hard to find, is that also part of the appeal, the challenge that comes with it? Is that a component of it as well?
Absolutely. Rarity. I should have said that earlier, but rarity plays a huge part. I mean, I got books I haven't even seen. I only seen a scan that I found on Facebook 15 years ago from someone who doesn't collect or is dead, you know. But other things, no, it's more common, but rarity definitely plays a role. You know?
Yeah. And I think a better term for what I was describing earlier might be also like the unique aspect of things, right? Some of this is unique. And I think that might be part of the appeal for some people, is that, to your point, it's not Hulk 181 over and over again. It is a different interpretation, a different country's interpretation, maybe, of Hulk 181 with different colors and maybe some different art, that also draws people in. Would you agree with that? Would you modify that?
No, I agree 100%. But sometimes also they mirror the image and they make it into this small. I mean, you know JLA1 as good as me, but I have this small Mexican that is super small. And it's so cool. And there's the stories as well. There's also the stories. Like the Mexican one came out because there was a paper shortage in Mexico. So basically, they just, instead of printing one comic, they printed 4 comics. And it's, you know, it's called a butterfly, it's just, I mean, I don't know how much time you have, Reggie, but I can't go on for so long.
Is that some of your secret notes that you put in your database? The fact that there was a paper shortage and that's why the book is so small. Is that an example of a secret note?
Yeah. And also, I'm trying to estimate, print run and look at the economy in the country, how the collection culture was. How the storage war, the climate, you have that thing. Even the US, we don't know how many was printed of Fantasy 15, how many survived. We can look at the census, we can guess the raw percent, but it's even more complicated around the world. I think that aspect is really fun as well. And don't forget, Reggie, that superheroes outside the US was not really big in Europe. It was basically dominated by Disney. Disney was huge. You also had the French, the Tintin, the Lucky Luke, and all the, Italy had wrote a lot of Western, horror, and it's semi-pornographic things and all sorts of crime. So Superman, Batman in the Golden Age was not. It's been released in several countries, but it was not people bought. My mother was buying the Disney, and my mother and father was buying Disney, and me and my brother could pick one comic each back in the late 70s or so. It's just a different thing. So print runs lower, and you look at the economy, population, and if you go to South America, you will always see that in general the comics are just horrible. The staples are rusted, the grades are insane, and there is color touch made by a 10-year-old, and it's just a different everything. It's just so much going on at the same time.
Yeah, there was a lot in that comment that you just made there, but I want to make sure that people fully appreciate it. What you started talking about there is the fact that, yes, rarity is a component of foreign edition comics, and the fact that superheroes were not something that appealed to a lot of people in some of these countries because maybe it was Disney or something else that was more heavily printed. It also means that the print runs were theoretically smaller for some of the superhero books, which also speaks to the rarity aspect that we touched on. I want to make
Correct.
sure that people appreciated that. And correct me if I'm wrong, your sweet spot is like the Disney books, right? Isn't that kind of your thing, the Disney comics?
That is correct. It's. I mean, I use 90% of my time on these superheroes. I love the cover. I'm a huge fan of Spidey 50. It's probably my best super cover, and I love some of the Golden Age. I love the Hogo. But what I really collect and what I really love is actually Disney and romance. Believe it or not, I think my US romance collection is probably, if not, probably the best, or at least up there.
There
I mean,
we
I
go.
got. Yeah, it's high grade. I mean, you can't even find a VG book, and I'm sitting with a VF for random.
And I bring that up because there are people in the chat now that love Disney. And that's part of the reason why I wanted you to speak on that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed as I was doing research for this, and you touched on it briefly, was that foreign edition comics have variations, right? They to your point, will mirror a cover. They will change the colors. They will maybe reimagine a cover. They will have interior content that might not match the exterior cover. I think Amazing Fantasy is an example of that. You correct me if I'm wrong, where the interior of Amazing Fantasy in certain countries is not the same one that we got over here in the US. Some parts of foreign edition comics are black and white, some are in color, some are in both. Can you talk a little bit about the variation that is maybe seen out there and maybe why that happens? Because, people will probably struggle with, if I buy Amazing Fantasy in this country, it should have this content, but that's not the case for a lot of countries. So can you maybe explain why that happens?
I can, Reggie, and this reminds me a bit of the earlier question when you said if it's a reprint or if it's edition of it, this or that. I don't know how this happened, but it's very typical with the internet and a lot of people writing and talking when they don't really know what's going on. Because the problem that you said, well, basically what you're saying is that the interior doesn't match the cover. Yeah. So we call it for the guts. I don't know if you use that in the US.
The guts,
but so the cover and the guts doesn't match up. And I think the reason that has been blown a little bit out of proportion is especially because of Italian Fantasy 15. It was released 24th of December 1970. It got a yellow background. And it's correct. I think it's Spidey 18 or something. It's nothing important inside. Fantasy is not there. And that's true. I understand if some people don't like that. But what I'm trying to express is that I think that one is important. We also have the Fantastic Four #1 from South Africa, which is a huge, massive, expensive book. It got this light green background of the Fantastic Four, but the story is not inside. Another one, Greek, Spidey 129, Killer Punisher cover, no story. But I mean, this is less than 5%, Reggie. I mean, we're talking like, maybe 2, 3 other people can correct me, but it's not often that happens. Not that Greek. The yellow Greek is too.
Oh no, I'm just putting that up there for background flavor. As
okay,
you're talking.
Cool. Yeah. So, but the Greek I just referred to is you can see on the screen just at the end there. There's 2 Greek. There's one red and one other way.
Other way.
Sorry,
the other left.
Yeah. So there you see that doesn't have the guts. The one in the middle now does not have the story of Punisher, but it has the cover. So, and I understand that but the whole point that CGC help you there. They will notify in the comment if it's there or not, and it's not the big problem. I would actually say it's the opposite, Reggie, because normally something you have to understand is that normally the European books they didn't have commercials and they had more pages. So normally they fit in 2, 3, 4 stories. I mean, you got Australian 100-page giant DCs. They got 10, 11 stories. CGC, we can't even fit it on a label. We have to see, which one we like the most. And another example, Fantastic Four #5, the big key. But several countries release Fantastic Four #4, which is also kind of a key here now. But often you will also find Fantastic Four inside. Fantastic Four #5 is also inside Fantastic Four. So you buy Fantastic Four #4 and you get the 4 and 5 as the guts inside. So it's actually one of those things that, I mean, not everyone have to love international books. It's not. I'm not a priest.
Yeah.
It's fine, but let's at least get the facts correct. And it's the opposite. It's uncommon and the books that where you don't have the stories, it's often very sought after books like like the books you mentioned now and some of the other. So it's the opposite. You get more bang for the buck inside.
Yep. But what I'm hearing you say is that part of the reason sometimes why the exterior doesn't necessarily match the guts is because of, I've heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes it's based upon censorship. Sometimes it's based upon the fact that there are no advertisements in that issue. The variability and uniqueness that we spoke about earlier, maybe it's an oversized comic and they actually have more content in there than just a single issue. So it's not that it's wrong for the cover and the guts to not match. Sometimes there is a legitimate reason why that actually happens. And to your point, it sounds like the fact that CGC is working with you and now has better labels, people are in a better position to understand what's actually going on with the comic versus thinking that that comic has been adulterated and modified in some way, right? Because I think that's part of what people think is it's this cover, it should be this guts. And when they don't see that, they think that maybe it's a fake and that it's not real. And what we're talking about here is that maybe there's a reason for that, and maybe you need to go a little bit deeper to understand that reason. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. There's a million reasons why the story is not inside. And another thing that I think that in a broader picture, I think it's important to understand that I think we went through this in the past with other collectors, and I think we realized, when we hear stories from people who work at different publishers, I think all of these companies are bankrupt now. Wow. I think it was just a big dream to release the American books because it's so big in the US, and then it doesn't sell enough, and 10 issues come and it finishes. So this was not, no one used any cover and didn't put the story inside on purpose to be. Yep. I mean, they might do it now in 2023 or 2021, but at the time, this was only distributed in the country it was printed, and it was they just wanted to have cool covers so the kids nagged mommy, oh, I want that one because of the guy with a machine gun with furniture or whatever, So I think it was, you have to look at the whole context, the whole situation. And yeah, I always disclose, if someone buys something, I always try to disclose before shipping or before anything is done that especially the Fantasy 15, it's not inside. Yep. At the same time, that Fantasy 15 is I'll be short right here. I see time's running. What's interesting about that Italy Fantasy 15 is that Spidey 1 was printed in India, Norway, Australia, lots of places. Spidey 1. But no one seems to print Fantasy 15. No one, not Brazil, not Mexico. And all of a sudden, Italy came with this in 1970. So it's of historical impact. Some like the yellow. I'm not a big fan of the yellow background, but obviously I'm a big Fantasy 15 fan, so I like it anyway. But so yeah, it's complicated, and sometimes the rabbit hole is deep. So the deeper you go, the more interesting it gets.
There you go. And there's a lot of people that love the story behind the books. And I think that may be also part of the appeal for foreign edition comics. But one other thing that I wanted to kind of get to, and we illustrated it a second ago with Amazing Spider-Man issue number 129, the first appearance of Punisher. The reality is that there are a lot of first appearances of the Punisher. And the first appearance in a given country of the Punisher, regardless of when it happens, is actually the first appearance. Is that correct? Is that the right way to think about that? Is that there are multiple first appearances, but it's unique to the country in which that character first appears? Is that right?
That is correct. I think it's very messy because sometimes you can have. I would say I'm not exactly sure on 129, but I would say that in most cases this was the first Punisher. But you can also have instances in some countries where, for example, Spidey 135, the second Punisher, was printed maybe 2 years earlier in a different title in that country. So it's not automatically, and it's even more horrible. The Golden Age, that is a labyrinth that. Good luck doing that, because there you could have this. Superman might have been in something in the 40s, in a different title, you know. So it doesn't mean that Superman #1 in it's normally it follows the logic, but sometimes it doesn't. It's so many countries I can't go through it, but it's complicated. And again, it just adds to the excitement and the history, the legacy, everything. It just adds to the fun.
But the reality is that the first appearance of a character in a given country is the first appearance, regardless of where it occurs. Is that fair? Maybe it's not Amazing Spider-Man 129 for every single country, but I think the legitimacy of the first appearance, regardless of where it occurs in that country, is still a significantly important thing, even if it occurs years after the US version. That's kind of where I'm trying to go.
Yeah, that in general, that's correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because I think that's also one of the things that I think people struggle with is, well, you know, Punisher appeared in 19 whatever, but he didn't appear in this country until 5 years later, so that must be a reprint. Well, no, that's still the first appearance of the Punisher in that country, and that is still a key book for that country. I think, again, just trying to make sure that people appreciate the significance of what happens in country versus judging everything from the vantage point of the US. That's kind of where I'm going with that.
Yeah, that is correct.
You talk with a lot of collectors, as we've kind of hit on. When you talk with these collectors, are you finding that most people are primarily foreign edition collectors, or are they a blend of foreign and US?
Again, it's very broad. I mean, some of the collectors, I would say that most of them also collect US. I don't ask everyone, but my impression, you know, just finger in the air, let's say 80%, 90% also collect US. But it's someone want to buy everything. Someone only want to buy, you know, they want to buy Hulk 1, for example. Other people, you know, want everything with only Spider-Man. They want every Spider-Man comic in the world. Others wanted the Wolverine run that they love, they grew up with. So and the Star Wars people is coming in, the Disney guys are coming in. It's just all over the place, Reggie. I'm sorry I can't give you more concrete, but it's a lot of it's all over the place, and I even have this sport cards collectors with deep pockets, and they just come in and they want high grade, they want slabs.
They buy everything.
I can see on your face that you don't want to speak about, but they have good taste, they're intelligent, they got the money, they got the taste, and they just slam it. And you know, it's cool, but yeah, so then you have people on a budget who maximum want to use $20 on a book, who go for the raw books, and that's also cool. You know, you don't have to be a CGC snob to collect. You know, you can buy raw books. I don't judge anyone. I think it's the art and the fun and the game, like you said, the hunt, the variation, the rarity, everything.
There we go. Good
it's
stuff.
Complex. I'm sorry to be not more direct.
No, and the reality is that you are helping, right? Because I think that maybe there is the belief that foreign language collector or foreign edition collectors just collect that. Well, no, they collect lots of different things, right? So you're answering the question, which I think again helps paint the picture that this is not just potentially a small group of people, right? You can collect US comics and foreign comics and vice versa, right? There's a little bit of blend. You don't have to focus and specialize in just one thing. One of the challenges that I personally have experienced with foreign edition comics and the conversations that I've had with people is around figuring out what the foreign edition comic is actually worth. And this comes up because to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is no Go Collect or GPA or Cover Price or comicspriceguide.com that captures the cost, the values of foreign editions. So if someone were new trying to say, hey, I want to get into this, but their challenge is, well, what is it worth? Therefore, how much do I pay? What kind of guidance can you offer them?
It's complicated again, but I do my best.
That's all that we can ask is you do.
Yeah. No, I think the general idea is that obviously, I would say that 99.9% of the foreigners are cheaper than the US. I work by, if I compare, if I have two slabs, I normally compare, and I would say that for the foreign, you normally pay between 5 and 50%. It depends. I will go more into that's a very broad range, but in general, you pay less. There are some exceptions. I do that quickly, but I think that you have to look. I mean, the main thing you have to look at is how long after the release is the foreign. Is it 1, 2, 3 years is fine, because they got to ship the book, they got to translate, they got to print it, they got to distribute it. So we got to cut them some slack. But if you go up to 10, 15, and also especially if you get to the 2000 and it's reprints, I mean, I'm not going to say worthless, because some of them are rare, but I mean, that's the key factor. The other thing that plays in, of course, is the rarity, which means that how many copies is out there, how we estimate. And the third thing is something that I call a relative grade. With relative grade, I mean that I mean, look at DC Silva Mexico. I don't think I've seen a 9.0 in my life there.
Yep.
So while other places, you can find, it's not so hard to find nice copies, but that plays in. So and I think, but I always tell people to look at eBay or look at other sites. Shoot me up on my Instagram or drop a mail. I always try to, if it's $20 or 20,000, doesn't matter. I always try to reply people and educate with no pressure at all, and do my best. But it's not. I think that, I'm also working on a price guide, but maybe we do that another time. But where I have problems myself even to price it is that if a book, what happens is that if I get a book that is extremely high grade, like a freak, I think I send you some pictures. I think I send you the Journey into Mystery 85. If you can just pop that up for 2 seconds, it's fun. It's the first tour. No, sorry, the first Loki tour. Yeah, so there you go, Reggie. There is in America they don't even have a 9.8. So I think it's 2,396s, but then again it's some years after. But how do I price this book? It's not particularly hard to find. It's not particularly expensive either. But one simply don't go to Germany and find a 9.8, a 50-year-old book. It doesn't happen. So how do I price this book? I don't know. I mean, I'm even just pushing some books away and not pricing them, because I don't want to give them away, and I don't want to be greedy. I try to find that sweet spot where the buyer. So we know in 5 years. We don't know now, but or 2, 3. I don't know. In some years we're going to know the true value of this when the census is growing. So the other thing that is out the price is the unique books. And I believe I sent you a Chamber of Chills number 19, the horror. With a red wine glass.
I don't have that one up.
Okay, it's fine.
I had a couple of them teed up. That is not one that I had up.
Okay, this one is it's not particularly high grade, but in general you end up with 2.0 to 5.0. So this is a percent well, it pops well, it's very deep colors there. So it's this I can price. The other one is not so easy.
Yeah.
But again, I think the general rule is that it's much lower than the US.
There we go.
Exceptions can be Golden Age. For example, I just saw some Batman covers, Golden Age covers, and I was low grade in Norwegian ones, but I was basically charging US prices because there's so few of them, and I know I can count probably where 90% are. So I think rarity plays in, a relative grade plays in, and we also have other freaks that I don't know if you heard about the Spider-Man 300 from the Philippines.
I've heard about it from you, but feel free to tell people about that.
Okay. Now the thing about the Spider 300 from Philippines, I've gotten a massive reputation and the prices are crazy. I mean, you've seen mid-grade, low-grade books go for $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6,000. While in reality, you can get a beautiful mid-grade American Spider 300 for $3, $4, $500. You know better than me, something like that. So here is a book that all of a sudden is 10 times the US price, and it's not even it's probably never going to be a 9.0, let alone a 9.8. But it seems so counterintuitive to pay top dollar. But that's I don't know. It's like, why does the stock go up or down? A million reasons. But I estimate that the demand for the book, because a lot of people Spider 300 is most graded CDC book ever, and a lot of people collect sets from all over the world.
Yep.
And if that one is rare, all of a sudden, if you go to seller, you get ding, 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 10 messages. And I give you 1,000. I have an offer of 1,000. I give you 1,500. But don't, you have to do it within 2 minutes. And it's like that.
Yep. Yep.
So that is like a freak. And I think that last advice I can give right here on the pricing is that, again, everything is relative. So when I say 5 to 50, you have to look rarity, relative grade. But it's also other instances. Like, for example, I take a cheap book. I was spoke about expensive books, but look at Savage She-Hulk #1.
Okay.
I don't know how you pay much a 9.8 US is now, but it's only a few $100. And I mean,
it might be like four. It might be like 4 or 5.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah.
So that means that you can get a raw copy for 10, 15, 20. It's nothing. But I've seen around 50 to 100 copies from the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. And I think the highest grade I ever got was an 8.0. Okay. Because it's got the glue in the spine, and it's read by someone, and it's stored horrible, it's shipped horrible, everything is bad. So on this book, it's obviously I'm not me or no one else will sell a Savage She-Hulk #1 from Holland for for $20. So there you have to go up. And on the other spectrum, even if you have a high grade Marvel key, if the US price is 1 million, it doesn't mean that it's going to go for 100,000. It might go for 10, or it might go even for 30 or 5. So I would say that the lower the price, the higher relative the foreign is, and the higher the price, the lower relative. And in general, I feel that with clients, I think everyone is. It's fun and games up until you get to $1,000. Then people, when you reach 5 and you reach 10, people want to research, they want to think, and they get scared. And I don't blame them. I understand it. It's a lot of money, and it's not a cat in the box, because you can see the book and you can see the grade, and you can check the rarity with other people than me. I'm not as many people smarter than me, but so I think that the two challenges I have is to get the price guy going, and I also included something similar to the Gerber, where I give an indication of rarity from 1 to 10.
Yep.
To help guys, and I'm not sure, it's not a direct copy. Let's say it's inspiration by the Gerber, and I will have kind of educate. I would dedicate part of that to explain what 6 out of 10 mean and what 3 out of 10, and as part of education. Because I
really do think that all of these things that you're talking about and what CGC has done will go a long way towards giving people more information and also more comfort with foreign edition comics, because part of it is, to your point, it can be a little bit of a rabbit hole. And I think the more information that is out there, it puts people in a better position to make smart decisions, right, about what they want to buy and how they want to buy. So for those folks that are coming in a little late, I'm sitting down talking with Rob, who partnered up with CGC back in 2020 to make international edition comics a little less murky. And so we spent the last 30 minutes or so kind of ripping through some of that. And Rob, I want to thank you, brother, for coming on to help us to make sense of this. This has been a helpful conversation. As we wrap up here, where can people get a hold of you, right? Because you've pointed to the fact that you're willing to talk to people and help them to understand this a little bit better. Where can people get a hold of you online and on social media should they have questions about foreign edition comics?
Yeah, I think the easiest is just to go to Foreign Comic Keys on Instagram. At Foreign Comic Keys, one word. Or they can go to comickeys365.com, and there you get the phone, email, whatever you need. I mean, if I don't reply, I will reply, and any questions, any demands, any requests, whatever, I'm there.
There we go. And Rob, I'll try to put that in subscribers, followers. I'll try to put that information down in the description so that you guys can check that out as well. But Rob, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
And for sharing your information with us. Good luck with everything that you are working on, but we absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich.
Take care. All right. I got him at the end. My bad. So that was Rob. Rob, as I mentioned, it partnered up with CGC to give them access to a database that he put together for foreign edition comics. And it's really about helping CGC to have more accurate labeling for foreign comics. And that's part of why he partnered up with them to give them that access. And there was like all kinds of press releases that came out. I want to say like in 2022, I think there was one recently where Matt Nelson actually interviewed Rob and dug a little bit deeper into some of this stuff. If you have any interest in foreign edition comics, I encourage you to reach out to Rob. I encourage you to search for those 2 great articles on the CGC website. A lot of really good information there. Matt Nelson did a video as well that you guys can check out that you may find of interest. All right. So what else do we want to get to? Let me give you guys a quick heads up. Let me give you guys a quick heads up on a couple of things. This is a video that I dropped yesterday. I made the mistake. I made the mistake of pulling out a couple of comics out of my Sugar box, and I looked up the value of those comics, and I did not like what I see. I did not like what I saw there, so I ended up putting together a video, and as you can see by the title and by my facial expression, yeah, watch the video. Watch the video if you get a chance to check it out. Another thing I want to hip you to is a video that I am dropping tomorrow. And this is the video right here. It is Buying What You Love is a Mistake. This is a video that I put together in response to a comment that I see a lot. I see a lot in the comment section. People are like, buy what you love. You cannot go wrong if you buy what you love. I don't need all that data and information, Reggie, that you're giving me because I just buy what I love. I will tell you again that if you just buy what you love, that will potentially be a mistake. I think it's a good video. I think it may spark some thoughts. I definitely want to encourage you guys to check it out. Let me take that off the screen. Thank you, Tina. I definitely appreciate that. Reggie, never look at value. You will never be happy if you look at it. It's true. It's true. It was a huge mistake. You know, I am the kind of guy that buys the book and then sticks it in a bin and I just forget about it. I forget about it. I pretend like it was free because that is the best thing for me. Even though I put out a lot of content where I talk about dollars, I actually don't look at my collection like from a day-to-day basis as to, you know, like a stock. How much has this gone up? How much has it gone down? Right? I have an awesome Silver Age Marvel collection. That's how I look at it. I have an awesome Silver Age DC collection. That's how I look at some of this stuff. I don't dig into how is it performed, you know, this quarter or this year or versus last year. I don't dig into that level of detail. But I did, and like I said, it was a huge mistake. I got into well, no, let me do this one real quick. I rarely get to the comments because I always go too long with the interviews because I enjoy the conversations. But I want to go to this one comment that Lamb left it. He said, Reggie, what are your thoughts on selling off large portions of your collection during a boom period and then buying back during the next bust cycle? Obviously, the longer you hold a book, the more you should gain when you finally do sell. But do you think there is value in using that built up equity ever so often? Say you wanted to gain some funds for a large purchase, i.e. house, kids, blah, 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 college. What I said to this person, and I'll say it to you guys, is if you have to sell comics for your family, there is no question about that. There's no question in my mind about family or comics. That is a no-brainer for me. I will sell off comics if I have to for my family in a heartbeat, right? But what I will then say is if you have to sell comics, you probably want to think about what you're selling, right? You want to be purposeful in what you're selling. And what I would do would be to sell the books that I'm not in love with. That is first thing that I would do. I would sell stuff that I am not in love with, that I am not committed to. I will burn through that stuff before I burn through some of the other stuff that I'm absolutely in love with. And part of the reason why I say that is because with the way that my mind works, I would struggle with rebuying something later on and potentially paying more money for that or not getting as good or better grade of that thing that I rebought. So if I were to sell it, it's probably just gone forever. That's just the way that I operate, right? So family first. If you have to sell, prioritize the stuff that you're not in love with, because potentially you're not going to come back to it, right? And if you come back to it, it's like, will you have to spend more money in order to get that thing back again? If you're going to give it up, just give it up and just be done with it. That is where my mind is. But again, I will sacrifice whatever I have to for my family, because that's just the way, that I am. There is no doubt about that. I tell my kids all the time, I have one job, and my job is to protect you, right? That is my job. My goal is to get them from childhood to adulthood in a healthy manner, so that they are upstanding and happy citizens. That is the goal, right? To make them well-rounded, to make them happy, and productive people that contribute to the world around them. That is the goal. But between now and then, I have to protect them. And that might mean I have to protect them from themselves, because kids do stupid stuff. That's just the way that we are wired. I had a wonderful conversation with my father and my mother yesterday about this very topic. And it's cool to be able to sit down with your parents as you get a little bit older and just have, philosophical conversations with them about parenting and child rearing. And, we even got into politics and some other stuff, but that is a story for another day. With that said, we're going to wrap this video up. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope that you enjoyed this recent installment of Comics Today. Huge shout out to Rob Wrong for coming on the show and helping us to better understand foreign edition comics. As always, if you all need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
Straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms with pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combinations. You flying, we waiting. Indian style in the gold temple of greatness. When you follow the North Star, you coming for the education. This is my audio book. These rhymes are just the imagery. More like an audiographic novel or a memoir about a young MC making timeless music with his mentor. I pray I grasp my letters. Nothing was meant to last forever.